Hi, and welcome to Lois and Morgana Davidson Art, and welcome to day 6, I think it is, of the my daily one sketch a day daily sketching challenge. And today it's another Irish picture. I'm going to be inspired by a photograph from Pixabay of the wonderful area known as the Ring of Kerry. This is the photograph. You can see I've changed it. I have sort of shrunk down the composition a little and simplified it, and that's what sketching is all about. One of the things about that is choosing the part of a photograph or a scene that you want to focus on and simplifying it. So I've got my washi tape border down on my page in my very small A6 sketchbook, and I'm starting off with a horizon line about a third of the way up the page, but I only need a small horizon line. Just on either side will be trees and headlands. So I've just put in that little bit of horizon line. If you're interested in details about my sketchbook, then that will be in the description below, as will be the link to the reference photo. All of the links to reference photographs where I use them will be in the descriptions, and all of these sketches for the 7 days that I'm doing this challenge will be in a playlist called the 7-Day Sketch Challenge. And you can find this playlist by looking on the About page of YouTube. And then you can, if you haven't seen them already, you can watch them all the way through. And please do sketch along with me, join with me for this challenge, even if you're watching this sort of later on in the future after I've actually done this. Please do share your work on Instagram and use the hashtag Lois Davidson Art, and I'll be able to see your lovely sketches. Please bear in mind, don't send them via Instagram or Facebook Messenger, because I don't use those services, and so your messages won't be seen. In fact, they'll be automatically deleted. So that's the watercolour sketch sketched out in pencil using an HB pencil. And now I'm going to paint really quickly the sky, wet in wet. I've wet the page all over. This is mixed media cartridge paper, not watercolour paper, so I have to be careful because the paint won't behave in quite the same way. This is Payne's Grey, and I'm pulling it across the sky. My board is at an angle of about 45 degrees, so that gravity is pulling the paint down a little bit, and the paint dries much more quickly on this cartridge paper, but the paper does buckle a bit. Now I've dipped into a pre-mixed green, and that's a mixture of sap green and perylene green, but any greens will do. You can mix your own if you'd prefer. Cad yellow, lemon and Payne's Grey would make lovely greens that would work really beautifully here. So I'm putting in sort of darker hues of green as I come down to the rocks, and working with my sort of large round brush of choice, which is a size 14 Escoda Perla synthetic round. It's got a good point, and so it works as a good all-round workhorse for this little sketch. The larger brush you use, the looser it will keep you, so try not to get bogged down by using fiddly little brushes. Even for a tiny sketch like this, a big brush is much better. So here's the beach, which is I've mixed into my green colour a little bit of raw sienna and a bit of burnt umber, and I'm sweeping it across the beach, allowing some of that green to sort of soak into the beach, sort of wet in wet, then dropping in a lot more dark. This is a richer mix of perylene green. You can see how dark it is. Perylene green is actually technically a black rather than a green, which I've always found quite amusing, but it makes for lovely dark shadows in foliage areas like this. So I've just run a bit of burnt umber, quite a richer mix, through into the beach, and hopefully that will just soften and diffuse and give me some beach textures, just suggestions of texture. I can soften them back as well, so they don't look quite so harsh, and they should also blend in wet in wet. Now using the tip of my round brush with, again, a mixture of perylene green and sap green to put in some foliage now on the top of each of these headlands. to represent the base of the headlands, the ground where the trees are growing from, but also then to build up the foliage around the branches that I penciled in. And this is my palette knife. I'm scraping through the shadowy area for some rock suggestions. I forgot to mention that when I was putting in the Peroline green, I put in a bit of mixture of Payne's grey and burnt umber. And you can see where I've scraped the paint away to reveal the white paper. It's giving me that nice impression of rocks on either side. Now I can just straighten up my headland a little bit and just keep working on just balancing things out, adding a little bit more shade and shape, a little bit more texture. It really is a sort of a bit of a balancing act, bringing the painting together. I've decided just to use the end of the palette knife and just see if I can drag a bit of paint up through into those trees, but everything's more or less dried. But I think it's taken a little bit up there, and that will give me variety when I come to paint my trunks and branches in a little bit. And scraping out a little bit of lighter texture and little scratchy marks in the foreground just to suggest something and nothing. Then going back in with my darker shadow colour underneath and around those little scraped marks. You can see that I've straight away been able to build up a sort of sense of there being, the beach being sort of having some larger rocks and some rock shadows around that bed the rocks onto the beach. And now to paint in the trees and the branches, which hopefully should just about sort of finish off this painting. Again, using my dark mixture, which is Payne's grey and burnt umber, and a small calligraphy brush. Any small brush with a good point will do for this. You can see I'm following over my pencil lines and working around the little lines that I scraped in too, pulling up those lines up into the foliage and just dashing in a few little branches here and there around the foliage marks so that you can see parts of the branches, but parts of them are obscured by the foliage as well. You can, of course, do this with your large brush and the point if you've sort of got a good feeling of control for it. But I thought I'd see how it worked and how well it looked with the little calligraphy brush. Just dotting in a few more little details in and around the base of the trees, just to bed the trees into those headlands a little bit more. Again, just something and nothing. It's just with your own sketch. If you sketch along with me for this one, then it's just a matter of what you like, how much foliage you like, how dark you want your shadows to be. And I think I'm going to darken up the sea now. So I've just mixed up a slightly darker mix, but very watery, very transparent, of my Payne's grey and a little bit of indigo in it. And I'm just pulling it lightly across the sea area, working it around the rocks so it comes into the beach. And then just a couple of little birds with a small calligraphy brush into the sky. And now that we've got the grey clouds kind of reflecting slightly darker in the sea, I think that brings the painting together really nicely. So then just dotting in with some slightly darker of the green mix with a little bit of the burnt umber added to it to really darken it down. I can make sure that I get some shadows in parts of the foliage. Those two birds are a little bit big, but I don't mind. It's just to sort of connect the sky with the land and add a little sign of life to this painting. So I think the sketch is just about done, and removing the washi tape, we see a clean white border, and straight away it tidies up the little sketch and makes it look quite pleasing to the eye. These little sketches are very rewarding. I do recommend that you have a go, even if you're sort of sketching your own scenes, your own photographs. Another bird, so I think 3 is often nicer than 2. And here's the finished painting. I've just decided to darken up the corners a little bit more, so we've got that sense of the shadowed canopies. But this sketchbook is starting to look really, really nice. There's only one day to come tomorrow of this 7-day challenge, and then I shall be revealing and showing you all seven little sketches all together and see how they look. But I'm really pleased with them so far. And as I say, tag me on Instagram, hashtag Lois Davidson Art, and I'll be able to see your wonderful sketches. So thank you for watching. Please tune in again, so same time tomorrow for day 7, where I'll be doing the last sketch and also revealing whether or not I'm going to be continuing with this sketchbook quest myself, or whether that's going to be it for a while. But I've got a feeling that I may be doing some more, as I've been finding it quite addictive. So please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and click on the bell icon if you want to be notified whenever we post. And I'll see you again soon, and thank you so much to everyone that supports us on Patreon. We couldn't do this without you. Take care, see you soon, and happy painting. Bye.